Oh no.
So thank you all for joining on Tuesday, January 18th for the Lead Dems meeting. As you can tell, we have some new faces. So our speakers tonight so far who have shown up, we've got Brian and Scott. Hopefully Jeff and Rebecca will join. Otherwise it'll be a very short meeting, which I'm sure everyone's okay with too. If you have any questions, I don't know how, Brian and Scott, how you want to handle it. If you want people to just kind of interrupt you, or do you want them to raise hands? What would you prefer?
Is this like question and answer, or are we doing like a little short little presentation, or what are we doing?
Yeah, you can do your spiel, but if somebody has a thought or a question, or how do you want to handle that?
It's a very small group, so raising hands probably is a little bit overkill, but that's just my opinion. But
Brian, do you have the same thoughts? I don't want you to be interrupted. Like I don't want you to get your thoughts cut off. So that's why I'm just asking.
I will yield to the senior member, Scott, and his ideas.
Brian, did you just call me old?
I said you were senior, as in seasoned.
Oh, seasoned. That's something different. All right.
You've been around the block for a long time now.
Oh, you have two, so
yeah.
Well,
it doesn't matter to me. Open forum is fine with me.
Perfect. Okay. So. Well, thank you both. And who would like to start this evening?
The good-looking one can go first. How about that?
And that would be
not me.
All right. So what do you want, Amanda? Do you want just an update and then go from there, or?
Yes, please. Okay. That sounds great. It's a good place to start.
Okay. Well, we are in the throes of COVID, and we're in the throes of budget season. So, which is the same on the town side, I'm sure. But school is doing well considering how strong COVID is going right now. We've gotten pretty close to shutting down at least some grades, if not in the entire middle school at one point, because this Omicron is just wiping us out. I also work in another school district as my full-time job, and it's pretty much wiping us out there too. And both schools are in masks. It's not really making much of a difference. So whether it's good or bad, we'll find out probably after this is all said and done, because I think eventually we're all going to get it at some point or some level of it, but everyone reacts to it differently. Some people are over it in a day. Some people are vaccinated and end up in the hospital. So it really depends on, on where you are. So we're trying to mitigate as much as we can. Matter of fact, we just met earlier today to go over the updates that DHHS just did. So the quarantine times will be less, but they're not less if you're still symptomatic. So in some respects it changes, in some respects it's not. So, if you can come back as early as 5 days, but you have to be fever free for 24 hours. You really can't have any symptoms. Maybe you can have a sniffly nose, but that's about it. But you're going to be evaluated by the nursing staff. We're actually looking to temporarily hire an extra LPN to help manage some of these COVID cases that we're dealing with, because the nurses are extremely overwhelmed with what's going on, not to mention just the abuse they're taking from people in the district, some of the parents in the district. I know it's a small amount, but it's enough that it's starting to affect their ability to do the job. And it's frustrating from a board level, it's frustrating from an administrative level, and obviously if you're a nurse doing your job, they're shooting the messenger and they're just following the policies and rules that they've been instructed to follow. So that's kind of really where, that's the crux of really everything that is top. Obviously, the second one is we have a brand new school we're going to be opening up in about a month. So we actually are on time. We are on budget, and we're going to have those normal things, I think, at opening, where, because we're opening mid-year, generally you open up in the fall, but because we're opening up mid-year, there's always going to be some hiccups, like somebody forgot something, a couple chairs left behind, or we didn't, I know right now the COVID stuff didn't affect us as far as the shortages didn't really affect us, or even the pricing didn't really affect us, as we locked in so long ago. But what we're finding now we're starting to catch up with on the electronics. The COVID is starting to back up a little bit. So some of that stuff's going to come in literally with days to spare. But I was in there last Tuesday, so a week ago. They were finishing up the tile on the first floor. Third and fourth floors are completely done. Second floors are just about, I'd say about 90% done. And furniture was arriving last Tuesday. So, and that's what we were worried about, because a lot of the metal in the desks actually comes from China. So we thought that would be stuck on a ship somewhere. Actually, that got in early enough where it got to the desk manufacturer who's in America early enough where it really wasn't an issue. So, because it comes in pieces. But it's an absolutely beautiful building. I don't know if you've seen the pictures online that I've been putting up there, as far as the Native American sayings that are on each side of the building. It was actually an idea I came up with out of the blue during the design phase, where one side is actually dedicated to Mastway and the other one's dedicated to Maharamet. So that's the idea, is the two schools joined together as one. And then as you go into the school, there's actually going to be a blue tile, like river, cascading through the first floor all the way to the library. It goes through the library. Just kind of represent the thirst for knowledge. And there's going to be a big mural done in the main entrance when you get in there, as well as a dedication plaque to the Go Vote group and the board and superintendent and all the people that were involved in it, the usual stuff. But it's very high tech. It's very interesting. I will tell you this: the kids are going to get a lot of exercise, because I had a real hard time walking up 4 flights of stairs to get to the top floor to start the tour. So next time, I told them one at a time would be nice. Although my iWatch was telling me I was getting my steps in that I needed. So it is going to be incredible. It is going to be quite the feat to move. So what we're doing on February vacation is we're actually moving everybody over, but we took 3 professional development days before February vacation. So the kids weren't in the building, but the teachers were. So we can move them all over. We're actually moving boxes over as we speak. So we're trying to do a box a week. We have been doing that for a couple of months to get it over, get it into their space, and give them those 3 professional development days or the vacation week to come in and set up the rooms. All the rooms are the exact same square footage as far as Department of Education requirements: 900 square feet for a regular classroom, 1,200 square feet for a science classroom. Each corner, actually, the top 2 floors are actually exactly the same. And the reason why we did that is so they're interchangeable for grades. Each one is color coded according to the 4 themes they have, which I believe are land, sea. It escapes me now. I've just been there the whole time, but it's the basic 4 elements of the earth. So it's kind of an earth theme. In our multi-purpose room, you'll see a multi-purpose area is right in the middle where they eat, they can meet, they have meetings, but also we have the music hall, which seats 900 people, and then the high school sized gym, which is basically it's actually the way they stain the floor looks really, really nice, but it's the same size bleachers as they had at the middle school. So they're not losing anything. They're getting a bigger room, but there's also an adaptive gym there too for the special needs kids that have it. Like, they're going to be the swings hanging from it. It'll be rooms where we can maybe even outside groups can use them for yoga classes or anything like that. So it's really it's really cool. Every bathroom in the school is single stall unisex. So there's no, and that fits in nice with our non-gender specific policies that we have. So that kind of that is pretty cool. I mean, they're not huge, but they're not small either. And they're pretty nice. So it's good too, because then teachers can use them. Students can use them. Most of the bullying that goes on in a school actually goes on in the gang style bathrooms. So that's one of the reasons why we did that. That was actually not only an idea of ours, but the teachers really wanted that too. So keep an eye on everybody. But so that's the big one that's coming. Obviously, we have our budget coming up. We probably will have a public tour in between the February vacation and probably the middle of March, somewhere in there. Because it's just, because we're not gonna really have a grand opening until August. The reason being is we still have to knock down the old school. We got to build the fields. We got to build parking lot, a couple under the parking lot. We got to finish that bus loop on the other side. But we're going to have police out there on the first couple days when parents come back, because they're going to have to relearn the loop. You have to go down to drop the kids off and come back up and go out. That's kind of why we reversed the streets in front of there, kind of make it run a lot smoother. And of course, once we did it, a couple months ago, we all were kind of kicking ourselves because we realized we should have done this years ago, because it just already, even without going in, the traffic flow is so much better. So it's been a learning experience for everybody, but so far everything's on path and on budget. And obviously it's not going to be 100% complete till about August, and then we'll do a great kind of a ribbon cutting type thing where everyone's going to be invited and get the tour, but we'll have some open tours in the meantime. Plus, we also have some final tours of the middle school before it gets knocked down. So those have been posted, and it'll be a Friday night and a Saturday, like 10 to 12. My wife told them to get a bunch of Sharpies for everybody so they can all sign the tiles when they're in there before they knock it down. You may be able to, during the process, to grab a brick if you want to and take it home. I know a lot of the teachers are kind of starting to get emotional about, the school they've worked at for 20, 30 years. And, even though it's exciting to go to a new building, there's a lot of memories in the old building. I've been in this district for 20 years now, and my memories of that school aren't the same as others. Mine are always the problems, because that's what I've had to deal with. But a lot of the kids and teachers have a lot of good memories. So it's kind of an exciting time for the school district. And, we're excited, but we're also cautious as well, because, COVID really is affecting everything. And this new school will actually make it easier for us to be socially distanced, because the way the old school is, it's not designed for it, where this new one is. It's a little bit easier to do. So we're hoping that's gonna help it out. And obviously the climate control system is so much more advanced than what we have now, which what we have now is basic. But we have a geothermal system that will control each room individually. It's always constant airflow. It's positive pressure. So, that's how it's gonna work. And it's gonna be basically, because I hate to use the term in a school, but it's kind of like a casino, where all that air just keeps circulating and it's clean air. So it's going in and out all day. And it's, if you ever actually saw the room with the geothermal system in it, the big, huge room that it's in, it's like walking into a rocket ship or something. It's just really, 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 really cool to see. So that's kind of my summation for now, unless you have any questions. So
I have a question for you. This on time, under budget stuff, love it. I heard a rumor that
it's on budget, not under budget.
sorry, on budget. But it's like even better when it comes to net, not just net zero, but all that stuff. The point is, I heard a rumor that you started with the contractor and then went to the architect, which is something that we always do a different way. And that by doing that, you really had somebody who was able to weed out some of the extra fluff. What are your thoughts on that?
Yep, we've used Bowen Construction because they've done all our other work on the district, and we really enjoyed working with them. They've done a really good job of when we're sitting with the art. I was actually in the room while they were designing the school, and when the architect would go over something, we kind of look over, do we need this? And he's like, nah, you don't need that. It's too expensive, or yeah, you might want to do that. And it worked out better because they were able to give us a guaranteed price too, which is what we came. That's why it was an exact number when we came to the ballot, because we're not spending $1 more than that. And if anything, we'll be a few dollars under, but not much. So it definitely was a different approach, but it's not a unique approach in some respects, because we knew we were getting into with this contractor. It's not like we were just putting it out to bid and people were just kind of throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. And so far they've been absolutely outstanding. They've solved problems we didn't know that could be solved. I mean, the first thing we did when they first dug it up, our first problem was actually when we're just doing the excavation. We realized that the soil was unsuitable to build a building that heavy on. So we didn't, we're like, now we got to truck in all this, all the suitable dirt to build on. And they said, no, we got this. So we had a bunch of ledge on one side of the property. So they broke up the ledge, mixed it in with the dirt. It gave us some stability, and we're able to get suitable fill. So we never ever had to truck anything in, never had to truck anything out. We just used what was on the property, and basically, and I was like, it's kind of sustainable, which is kind of what we designed the building about. So, and we're actually, as we've gotten close with the testing, we were actually up to about 102, almost 103% of net positive. So we're actually producing more power than we're using, rather than just evening it out. We were at like 94, 95. And then as the testing went farther, we're actually up to about 102. So we'll actually know more within the first year what that really turns out to be once people are in the building, how that works. So.
Are guests allowed to ask questions too?
Of course.
Brian, you spoke about this earlier, and it's an operational question. So you said you've been very close in terms of this whole COVID thing, in terms of shutting things down. Is the board's consideration in terms of, because going remote has pluses and minuses for different kids. Some kids thrive in it, some kids don't do very well in it. So have you guys talked about that? How you said you're getting close. How close, how much more does it have to get bad for you guys to switch to remote, or even you're not even considering remote?
Here's the problem where we run into. The Department of Education, the governor, has basically told us we cannot go remote more than 48 hours without permission from the Department of Education. So they've told us basically pack them in like sardines and hope for the best. Not the answer we wanted to hear, and not the guidance we wanted to get from the Department of Education. I mean, I speak to Frank Edelblue on a regular basis, probably every other week, on a conference call, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating being on this side of the table, because I don't know if it's. I think this is getting more political than it is, going with the health things. I mean, and it's frustrating because you're not getting good answers from them. They're not, they put out that web page for teachers with CRT when we was teaching CRT, never told the school districts about it, never told the superintendents about it, which they've always done in the past. And then if you go in and complain about a teacher, the district will never know, because it doesn't even go to the Department of Education. It goes to one of those human rights groups that could be knocking on your door and not even know. So there's a level of trust that's been broken with the Department of Education that is extremely frustrating right now. And they've told us we cannot be remote. We don't want to be remote, to be honest with you. Our goal is to stay in school. That's been our goal since day one, and we'll do everything we can, but it gets tight when we run low on teachers. And it's not as much the students as it is the teachers. When the teachers are out, you can only have so many teachers per so. You can't have one teacher for 100 kids, because that's what it ended up being. I think one of our grades in middle school almost got to that point. We were probably within 1 or 2 teachers of shutting an entire couple grades down. Never got to it, but we're getting a little better now. It's just frustration all around. Everyone is feeling it. We're feeling it. Parents are feeling it. Kids are feeling it. Kids are acting up more than they ever have. The disciplinary action that's being taken is probably more, the numbers are higher than they've ever been. And I can understand the kids are cooped up. They can't do the stuff they want to do. I mean, I'm trying to get my kid out to play sports, and it's not as easy as I thought it would be. They'd rather stay home and game all day, which drives me absolutely nuts. So, but yeah, it's tough, Scott. It's a challenge. It's a challenge we fight every day. And when you're dealing with 400 employees plus another 2,200 kids, there's 2,600 people that you're looking at, and at any given day you could have 100 people out. And if those 100 people are teachers, that's a quarter of the teachers, or paras, or whoever they are. And you can't run it's trying to like run a hospital without nurses. You just can't do it. you know, you can run them, you can maybe have doctors, but still they need the nurses. And that's the way it works. So yeah, that is our biggest and hardest challenge.
Can I follow up on something that you mentioned? I had, I think it was breakfast with the superintendent last year. And one of the things that he mentioned in terms of is the staff burnout. And now it's a year past that. So how is that doing? Is it better, worse, the same?
Honestly, I would say it's worse.
Hmm.
And because this is year 2 and trying to, you're not only was there learning loss, but there was also socialization skills, social skills that were lost. And trying to get the rules back in the classroom. I mean, I myself, even working in a school district, I saw it in both school districts. About October, you saw that April, May face they usually get, which is like, all right, I can't wait for school to end, you know. And I saw it in October, and got a little better once you get close to Christmas, because they're like, all right, Christmas spirit. They get a week off, you know, week and a half off or what have you, and then they come back, and of course, COVID is going gangbusters. You know, we got back, so. It's tough, and I honestly think it's tougher this year than it was last year. I know I'm seeing a lot of retirements in my school district of people that were on the fence, and now they're like, yeah, I'm definitely out. I'm done. And it's not the kids. I'll be honest with you, it's the parents. The parents are making it extremely difficult for teachers and for staff just to do their job. I mean, we've had parents that are like, I'm sending my kid to school without a mask. There's nothing you can do about it. Actually, there is, because the federal government controls transportation. So that's the bus. You're going to have to wear a mask on the bus. We have absolutely zero say on that. And we also have a mask mandate in the school. So if you send your child to school and refuses to wear a mask, then they're going to be sent home. Take your pick. I mean, we're not going to fight about it. It is what it is. You know, I mean, I'm not anti-mask. You know, I don't know, people got this rumor that I'm anti-mask because I didn't wear a mask at a school board meeting, but I'm fine with a mask. It's the people that take it to the extreme that don't have a mask. And if you've seen any of our board meetings lately, you can see there's one particular visitor we get that was actually escorted out by the police last time because he was threatening the board and everything else. So it's getting to the point where no one even wants to be a school board member anymore because of what you have to go through. I mean, I God bless you if you want to do it. We have 2 openings this year, by the way. So if anyone's interested. So, you know, Scott, you want to double up and do both, you're more than welcome. So,
Yeah, well, maybe I should quit the board because I have to deal with Katrina all the time. And oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness.
Yeah, she's high maintenance. I know how it works.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, her husband said that to me on numerous occasions. So, you know, just kidding, just kidding, just kidding, just kidding, just kidding.
Any other questions for Brian?
No, I just want to say I've watched a lot of school board meetings recently, and you guys are amazing and put up with so much. So thank you for showing up and doing the work.
Thank you for your support.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be questions. It can be comments. That's nice.
And also, and when it comes to the budget we have this year, the way it works out, if everything passes, including the CBAs that are on there, I think, and we'll go over this at the selectmen's meeting next Monday night. The effect, I believe, was only 12 cents per thousand, using the valuation that was just done with the town. So it's actually one of the smallest of the district. So it kind of changes every year with valuation and everything. So last year was kind of a bigger one, ended up being smaller, but this one is actually starting out small. So it'll probably end up even being less. Usually does after we're done giving money back at the end of the year. So just a little heads
So
up.
is this using the 713 million number?
The new number that you used to set the rate in November.
So you said it's only like what? What'd you say? 12 cents?
I want to say 12 cents, but it'll be
I
in
think
the
it was
presentation.
16 on the form.
It might have been 16.
Yeah.
So
I sent it to you, Scott. Remember?
Oh, yeah. But
I
it
took
said
screenshots and
4.1,
sent it.
but then it said it didn't use the new evaluations that we had. So
I thought we did. I'll double check that, but
okay, all right.
I know because that valuation came out a while ago, didn't it?
It was October.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, they mentioned at the meeting tonight that Lee and Madbury, you guys didn't know what the number was or something. So,
Yeah.
Interesting.
all right.
Hopefully
All
all
right,
set,
thank
but
you.
thank you.
Okay, well, thanks, Brian. We'll move on. Scott or Rebecca, who wants to go next?
I can go.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless Scott, you wanted to go.
No, that's okay. You already started, Rebecca. Go ahead.
All right, all right. What's interesting to talk about tonight? I don't want to spend time on something that you guys aren't interested in, but just this week, I'm introducing tomorrow I'm introducing the bill to protect a woman's right to choose up to 24 weeks. And then on Thursday, we might have a redistricting vote. So those are big on my mind this week, but there might be other things that you guys are thinking about.
If you just want to give an update from what you all have done in the Senate so far this year. I mean, obviously y'all met 2 weeks ago, so maybe give a recap on what happened there and anything that you might think will be interesting moving forward.
Sure. Yeah, so we did convene, which was not the 3-day marathon session that Representative Gourgue had to sit through. But it felt long anyway. It was about 6.5 hours, and it seemed to be the worst of the worst from last year, which I know you veterans already knew, but was just kind of a depressing day to kick off the session with. We dealt with the other anti-abortion bill from last session, which got turned into a commission. We dealt with a gun safety bill, which prohibited municipalities from restricting someone's Second Amendment right to carry a gun, which passed. We dealt with all sorts of rough stuff. I don't know if there were any big highlights, but it was a tough, partisan day to kick off the session, and really kind of dredged up, on how partisan it was at the end of last year, which, as far as I hear from everybody, is really the most partisan that's ever been up there. So that was kind of a rough way to start. We are meeting in person as well, but we are in Reps Hall, so we're distant, and I feel safe, which I feel lucky for. And I know the representatives are in a much different situation. So really, our emphasis is on making sure they're okay. But our committees are also meeting in person. Our committee rooms are pretty distant. So they're all right, but it's strange to be in such close proximity with people all the time. I feel like with 2 little ones at home, it's just, I'm double masked all the time, and I try to just keep my distance from folks. So, but business goes on as usual, and it's busy. We heard 74 bills in committee last week as a Senate, 54 in committee this week. We're not meeting as a full Senate until the first week of February again. So I think we'll do a bunch of committee work for this month, and then kind of resume our usual schedule of meeting on Thursdays to do floor votes and such. As I mentioned, it's been kind of a busy start. I'm a member of the redistricting committee, or the special committee on redistricting out of the Senate, which adjourned its work and folded into our election law committee. And so that was the first public hearing we held, was on the redistricting bills in Reps Hall. And, we had about 35 people testify. Not one of them was in favor of the maps brought forth by the Republicans. So right now we're sort of in between 2 committee hearings, and I'm trying to work on seeing if we can bring an amendment to improve the Republican maps. I know the congressional ones are very famous for how terrible they look, but the Senate ones are not good either. They make 15 of our Senate districts basically less competitive for Republicans. So very close to securing kind of a permanent supermajority. And so the hope is that we could bring an amendment that increases the number of competitive seats. We don't feel like it's likely at this point that we'll get huge changes, but any improvement is an improvement, and any increase in competitiveness, I think, increases our hope for maintaining a nice civic culture in New Hampshire. I worry that with gerrymandering, we won't have reason to come together every 2 years for our elections and talk out differences and knock on each other's doors and make phone calls. And so I really see gerrymandering as very fundamental to our civic culture in New Hampshire. And so I'm really committed to working on it. And in fact, I have a call after I get off of here tonight. So I'm working hard on that issue. And then, like I mentioned, the other bill I'm really proud to be involved with this session is the one that I'm introducing tomorrow, which protects a woman's right to choose up to 24 weeks. I was pregnant last session, and we voted on the abortion ban and the budget. And so one of the bills that the Democrats are bringing this session would repeal that ban from last year, including repealing the ultrasound requirement for women that are seeking abortion, and including repealing the criminal penalties for doctors who are giving medical advice and medical care to their patients. So that's one bill. And then my bill just ensures that there is no further interference with a woman's right to choose up to 24 weeks. So they kind of go together. And we've had conversations with some of the Republican senators about them. We need 3 votes on the Senate side to move one of those bills through. So our chances are not easy, but it's really important. And there's so many women that are affected by these bills, and it's really important to them, and keeps them up at night, and I hear from them. So I'm working on that. I have, let's see, some other legislation that's just been, requested by the district that are good fixes, like one for Newington to be able to take over a railroad depot property, one to support the Turning Basin project at the State Pier, a couple to increase municipal revenue. So one of them is to allow towns to charge up to $15 on individuals' car registrations. Right now, they're empowered to charge $5. And so it's something the towns are interested in, to be able to increase collection of user fees, as opposed to leveling further property tax. There's, I'm just trying to think of other stuff for Lee. I have 16 bills this year, so it's a big package. I have an energy bill that would allow UNH, the community college system, and Pease to participate in the limited net metering that got passed last year. It was an exemption from the 1 megawatt cap for municipalities. So it was an expansion of, the ability to build renewable energy projects where it's towns and cities buying the power. And so essentially what we're trying to do is clarify that UNH, the community colleges, and Pease would qualify loosely under the term municipality, political subdivision, in order to participate in that expanded use of renewable energy. So that's great. And then, basically trying to support other democratic initiatives, but it's been a busy start, but it still feels good to be there kind of working on all this stuff, because I think there's a lot of things, that just kind of need fixing and need to go through the process. And so it feels good to be working on those. And another thing that came through today, Amanda, that you've probably been watching, is the amendment to HB 549, which is a happy story of bipartisanship and hard work on language, where our PUC tried to defund all of our energy efficiency programs, which, help people weatherize their homes. It helps reduce the demand for energy by increasing like insulation and, adding better front doors and stuff to people's homes. And the PUC tried to defund those just before Christmas. And so Senator Waters has been working with Chairman Bowes to put together an amendment, and the governor's supporting it. And so it looks like it'll be something that'll save those programs for homeowners, which, is important, especially given how cold the winter is. And also just like creates stability in our energy policy, which is important. So really interesting year already and more to come, but I'll just leave it there. If there's anything anyone else wants to know.
Thanks, Rebecca. Is there any questions or comments for her?
I do. So I've been reading articles about how states are suing to redistrict and taking it all the way to the state Supreme Court. Is that a possibility in New Hampshire?
Yeah, it's unfortunately a pretty likely possibility. There are several groups, including the National Redistricting Group that Eric Holder is leading, that are expecting that we'll have to take the maps into litigation. And there have been state Supreme Court decisions in each of the last two redistricting processes. So it certainly has precedent.
Sue, you're on mute.
Thanks. I saw that Mark Elias Law Group said they'd sue the state over the maps if the governor signed it.
Yep.
So that's another one. I think they're related to that National Redistricting Group though somehow.
Yeah, they might be. I think they are different groups. They're both out of DC.
They're different groups,
Yeah.
but it's good to see there's a couple of them.
Yeah. Yep. And ACLU, I think, is on standby as well for this. And, the Republicans kind of keep just putting their foot in their mouth, for lack of a better word. I mean, I don't know if you've heard some of the things that Bob Lynn has said about the redistricting, but, he keeps saying basically that, of course, it's motivated by partisan considerations. And so Jim Gray, who is our election chair, has been a little smarter with his use of words, but it's still, it's obvious what they're doing. The population shifts would drive a minor change in Nashua. And other than that, we don't need any changes to the Senate maps at all, other than, potentially to improve what was already a gerrymandered map. So there's no, population-based reason to be making the changes that they're making.
Can a guest ask another question?
Of course.
I don't know if this is a Jeff question, an Amanda question, or a Rebecca question, but I saw in your email, Amanda, about what the Republicans are proposing. Lee would lose their representation. Can somebody speak to that and kind of explain what they're proposing? Because it doesn't sound very nice. So
they've basically placed Lee as a flotarial district along with either Dover, Madbury, or Durham, Dover. They've created two split districts. So it means de facto that Lee could very well wind up without representation. That especially with a very large student population in Durham, it's very likely that that flotarial seat will go to Durham. With the large population base in Dover, it's very likely that that Dover Madbury Lee seat would go to Dover. And that leaves us without. I'm talking to the people in Dover and the people in Durham, wringing my hands and trying very hard to convince them that it is in their interest to run for 3 seats, and one of them would be consigned to Lee. And we would have to turn out voters in Lee in numbers to make sure that that happens. And perhaps we can do it. I don't know.
Disconcerting.
If I can add a comment to Senator Kwoka's discussion of the, I'm going to call it the abortion bill. It's a women's right to choose bill. That came up today in the House Committee on Health, Human Services, and Elderly Affairs as House Bill 1609. I would like you to know that the Democrats fought really, really hard to change the wording in that bill as it was passed in HB2 to eliminate, the ultrasound provision, to eliminate the penalties on physicians. Those were the only things we really could fight on. And the short version is that we lost on an amendment 11-10, party lines. The Republicans, in fact, passed their new version 11-10. Not a surprise there. And I must tell you that the governor, to his credit, sent a personal note to the committee saying pointedly, if you will amend this bill appropriately, I will sign it to preserve women's rights. I am, he said in this note, pro-choice. And so there were elements that we were able to make progress on. We were not able to eliminate the 24-week test. We were not able to eliminate the ultrasound, but we're going to take it to the floor of the House. And we feel that centrist Republicans and moderate Democrats working together can in fact amend that element in HB2 to protect women's rights. And folks,
Yeah.
damn it, we're going to do it.
Yeah. That's what I like to hear.
We'll try. You have to forgive me. I was in that committee room at 9:30 this morning. We left at 5:45 tonight.
Oh,
And the reason I'm late coming here is I have another meeting going on simultaneously.
bless you.
Are there any other questions for Rebecca? And then we'll get to Scott and then Jeff. And then Jeff. So
I have a quick question. So is there anything going on in Concord these days that is not along partisan lines?
No,
Not one thing.
nope.
Well,
Not a thing.
well, I'm gonna provide a little slightly hopeful answer. Yeah, yes, there is. And you know, a lot of business gets done that's not partisan.
Yep.
I think the issues that matter, you know, to me the most, that I sort of feel the pain of, you know, the most are partisan issues, and so I tend to bring them up, and I think the same is true for the media. But you know, 75% of what we do up there is just policy. It's not partisan issues. You know, a couple examples are, we had a big long hearing today on lobster traps and pots, and one of the big debates in the hearing was, you know, divers go out and they see these abandoned lobster traps and lobsters get stuck in them and they become bait for bigger fish. And then there's a big tangle of lobster pots, and can divers help by removing them? And then a bunch of fishermen, testified about how they don't want anybody touching their traps. And even if they look
Yeah.
abandoned, they may not be. So, it was a big, long hearing. And we talked about all the different pieces of that. And so, we tried to figure out what to do. And in an executive session, it wasn't a partisan issue. We just were all trying to think from a policymaker's perspective, like, what was the best answer, And another example is like, I had to move some funds from a contract in Rye Harbor to a contract for the turning basin, and that required a bill to do it. And so I was in transportation with that today, it's not all partisan, but that's what makes the news. And again, it's the things that are, I feel, sort of near and dear to my heart, so I bring them up, but as you kind of go through this business with your colleagues, like you do get to know them, and they're people too. And then you have these floor fights, that are partisan. So I don't know, I've only been at it a little while, but I've been around policymaking for a little bit, and I don't think it's mostly partisan, but the big issues sure are.
I will add to that, just because for Rebecca, there's 24 of you.
Yeah.
Very different in the Senate versus the House. So we obviously haven't gotten to the House part, but unfortunately every vote is down party lines because there's 400. So I think it just depends on what body you might be in. So I am always jealous of Rebecca. I think the Senate is better. It's well run. It's nice that it's small and it's 24. You all can have a conversation and get to know everybody. There were people on the news tonight talking about that abortion bill, and I'm like, who is he? But if you are a Republican from a different county, I'm not going to probably know you. So I do very frequently love hearing stories from the Senate. So Rebecca, I'm always a fan when you come and talk to our committee. So thank you for that. Even though I'm the body across, behind the wall or whatever we say, like we don't get the updates. So even I, as a state rep, do appreciate you coming and sharing. So I can only imagine someone who doesn't hear what happens in Concord probably is, surprised of what we deal with. But at the same time, I'm sure they appreciate what you say as well. So thank you for your update.
Yeah. No, it's always nice to be with you guys. And I'm sorry I'm not always here. It's just you guys feel it. The days are long, and so sometimes I'm with my girls, and some days I'm able to join. So it's nice.
It's
to
hard
see
when you
guys
represent a bunch of towns too. You can't be everywhere. So I as the float for us, I understand that. So thank you for making time today. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
It's
Awesome.
so nice to know that somebody with a uterus that understands what this is about is out there representing us. So thank you. That's so important to know that everyone's fighting for women and for everyone. I know it doesn't always feel like we're getting somewhere, but thank you.
No, I mean, it feels important to be there, and yes, I think I'd be fighting the fight anyway, but I am very much of childbearing age. I am a 4-month-old. So, it matters to me, and my friends are going through this stuff, and I'd like to say every pregnancy is a happy and joyous time, but it's not. It's very complicated, and you cannot legislate it,
No, and
it's very complicated.
Yep.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any final questions or comments for Rebecca? No. All right. Well,
Thanks,
thank you, Rebecca.
guys.
And didn't you say you have another meeting after this? So if you have to jump off, feel free to do so.
Yeah, okay, I might, if that's all right. It's really nice to see you guys though.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
All right. Scott, thank you for your patience. Would you care to share what is happening
yes,
on the
please.
select board?
Oh, gosh. Well, after I've listened to all you guys, what Katrina and I and Mr. Brown went through doesn't sound like very much. So, but in terms of this particular budget season, it was one of the worst that I've ever been through. Not necessarily the people, but just the amount of introspection that we did in terms of the budget, in terms of finding things. right at the moment, and Katrin hasn't heard this, but I rushed home, and what I was doing at the beginning is putting those numbers in my spreadsheet, which I think Katrin doesn't like. But the town of Lee is looking at a budget, a total budget of $5.45 million. That's a little bit less than last year. The issue comes in terms of revenue. So we're expending or looking, the net town appropriation is $547,000 more than last year. So we're looking at a town tax rate, just the town portion, increase of about 15%. But the total tax rate, I'm not comfortable with this number just based on what Brian just told us. So, but it's looking, without making the changes that Brian just talked about, looking about a 5.37% increase. Tax rate would increase to about 22.94. But just based on what Brian just said, that number is probably going to be down maybe 20 cents, something like that. So, but it wasn't pretty. Some of the highlights, we increased salaries, which, you know, we all know that it's problematic out there these days. There's less people looking for work. So we addressed that. The amount that came from the state in terms of retirement, the rates went up. So that was an expense that we had. One of the things that's going to be difficult for people, it was difficult for us, at least difficult for me, is we did a reorganization of the towns like utilities. We have a public works director that's kind of in charge of government buildings now. So we kind of moved all the utilities into his budget. So it's going to be hard to look at, you know, department to department in terms of comparisons. And one of the things we cut kind of largely was paving. It's down like 60,000 from what the public director wanted. So that was an issue. One of the things that kind of hit us, which Katrina and I disagree, which is fine. One of the things that kind of caught us by surprise is we did a reevaluation. Of course, everybody knows that housing costs went way up this year. The average assessment for the town of Lee went up a little bit more than 54%. And, you know, that's all great because, you know, when the appropriation goes up, for the assessment goes up, excuse me, the tax rate comes down. So it's, you know, kind of the same thing. Unfortunately, one of the things that hit was the people that we had that utilized the elderly exemption because the exemption rates didn't go up. So we had a significant number of people, 54, I think, that were affected. But so these people's houses, some people's houses increased significantly. So before they were not getting a tax bill, now they're getting tax bills in the $1,000 range. We had one lady that came in today and she used to get no tax bill, and now she's got a tax bill for $6,000, and she's on a fixed income. She doesn't know how she's going to pay for it. So that's problematic. So I think we did the best job that we could. I'm not very happy with it, but it is what it is. So the other thing I wanted to thank those particular representatives for is in terms of the extra money they gave for rooms and meals, that was much appreciated. Any more that you can do. I know there's a bill floating around about increasing from 0 to 7.5% in terms of the amount that the state would kick in to support the retirement plan. That would be good. I don't know if you can pay for it, but anything that you can do to help in terms of the revenue that the town gets, because these taxes are extremely expensive and it's hard for us to hold the line with everything that's going on. And I know you guys have your own issues. So, but that's just the focus from Lee. I'll take compliments, but I'm not taking any complaints tonight.
How about questions? I think Eric's got one.
I'll take questions, but no complaints. Katrin gets those.
Okay, so did I hear correctly that both everyone's valuation and the tax rate itself has gone up?
No, everybody's evaluation on average went up 54% in the town. So the tax rate went down appropriately.
Okay.
So their tax rate last year was 32 something. Now it's down to 21.77. So
Okay.
it wasn't, you know, 1 for 1 in terms of the reduction because of course our budget was up. So no.
Okay. Good.
Because like
Thank you.
last year, our evaluation was a little bit under $500 million, and now it's 713 million. So it went up significantly. So
Scott, You had a little drop in the county portion of the tax rate. What about the school district?
Ooh, I don't have that in front of me, Jeff. It went up a little bit. I don't
The
have
swept,
that.
the swept went down because they took
Yeah.
100 million out of the swept and moved it over to adequacy.
Yeah. The other thing
Um,
is, and yeah, and Brian can speak to this in terms of we got less funding from the state. It went down. So I'm not sure. Right, Brian?
Yeah, yeah.
We got less
less funding.
revenue. So that kind of
Yeah.
what did us in a little bit too. But
Oh, ouch.
yeah, a lot of ouches, a lot of ouches.
So Scott, what, I guess the question that's been asked for a year and a half now is, do we know who or if anything is being built behind Irving? I know they've prepped it to put in there, but I know the water's almost there, or it's not already there, but
It's not there yet. It's not there
yeah.
yet. They're almost ready. The problem is, and this is from Karen Rossi, because I've asked this question too. The developer that's doing it is not going to do anything until water is at the circle. Because some of those particular structures back there that are going to be built are food restaurants, food
Right.
type places. They're not going to be like a Cracker Barrel or a 99. It's going to be something a little bit different. What I've been told is the traffic count doesn't support like a Cracker Barrel or a 99 or something like that. So they're looking at something a little bit different. But according to Karen, the developer is not going to do anything back there until the water's there. And the water's there, not there yet. They're running the line. You've seen all the mess on Route 4. They've got it kind of to the circle, but that's about it. So. And don't
No, the
ask me
tra-
about Mick and Herb's, because Mick and Herb's is that store that's kind of, well, it's not a store, it's kind of run down. It's owned by a lawyer in New York, and he wants way too much money for it. It's going to be hard to develop because the wetlands behind it, you're not going to get enough parking. So, but it's turned into like an eyesore at the circle. So
What about the old gas station? Is that just a brownfield? Is that why no one's touching it, or
that's the Mick and Herb's.
that is Mick and Herb's? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
thinking of-
Mick and Herb's is like way back, come and
Oh, okay.
go, or
I was thinking of the antique store next to the Lisa Grocery.
oh no,
Oh.
not that one. No,
Okay.
no. This is
The-
that old gas station. Used to be
And-
the police used to go in there and find people doing drugs and things like that. It's not good. So
And Scott, I assume that at that old gas station, there are buried gas tanks.
I
And if
believe-
anybody,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I believe they were taken out, Jeff.
Okay,
I
thank
believe
you.
they were taken out. I don't remember what year, but Karen Rossi would know, but I believe they were taken out.
Oh, God.
Yeah, because the gas went away and it was still kind of a store, and then the store
Right.
closed. But I believe they took out the tanks. Any other questions? I'm taking any kind of questions.
I feel like
And
we
once
have
again,
to
my
do
thanks
this.
to Katrin. It was her first year. Trial by fire, that's for sure. But it gets better. How about that? How about that? So,
Scott,
And the
you are
thing-
definitely an example of somebody who is willing to work with anyone across the aisle. Working with you has been absolutely amazing.
well,
We have very many differences of opinions, but we
Yeah.
always find a way.
well, the thing is, so you all know, you probably already know this. I'm a registered Republican, but I'm not one of those Republicans.
Nope,
I
you're
do
not.
not want to be associated with those Republicans. That's not, so people say, well, I had this conversation with Jeff at the election last year. And he says, well, why don't you just like turn into a Democrat and then, you'll be perfectly fine. And I said, yeah, that's a possibility, but I'm not letting go of my party. They're the interlopers, not me. So,
Yay.
so,
Amen.
but yeah, so.
I'm
But,
just
yeah.
interested to know if anybody has put their name forward for the position.
I'm much
Yeah.
more interested to know when you're going to put your name forward for the
Yeah.
position.
Not this year.
It's my
Oh, Deb,
understanding-
you're killing me.
It's my understanding that Mr. Brown is running again. So I don't know if there's anybody else that's out there that's interested. But it's always nice to have multiple people running. But I don't know if anybody's, in this particular group or anybody in your group is interested in running, but it's always nice to have somebody else besides one person on the ballot. So,
I don't think there's anything you can do that you can have this much direct impact on your community. Every day you make choices and decisions. It's incredible. I understand it's a lot of work. It is absolutely a lot of work, but I had no idea how much I would get back and how much I would see my own fingerprints and all these things I never would imagine. And I really can't stress enough how much it'd be wonderful to have somebody join
Yep.
us.
plus you would get to work with Katrina and I.
I mean,
What's
right?
better than that? Now, come on.
It's more fun.
Yeah.
There are two,
Runs.
there are two openings on the school board and they're at large positions,
whoa,
so
whoa,
anybody
whoa.
can
People
do it.
will come and not take masks off, you guys, and like
Yeah,
scream
but
and yell.
this-
Come to select board. They're much nicer. Much
Yeah, we pay more than the school district does.
We
for
do
the
pay
position.
more, that's
Yes,
right.
So there we go.
right.
That is true.
And
We're
you
the
get to-
lowest.
Oh,
We actually
oh,
are the lowest paid around for school
Really?
board members.
But
Yeah.
Brian, do you get to ride around in a snowplow on your job? Because I do.
Yes.
And a fire truck.
Yeah.
You know what? Thinking we're winning.
Hey, if you want death threats, you're the place. School board's the place to be.
Exactly.
So-
Exactly. Select board. Come on, guys. Anyway.
I don't think, did I miss anything, Katrina, in terms of big things? I
Oh,
don't,
there's so many things, but
yeah, I just gave you the highlights in terms of the things we're looking at. So that's all I had.
it's a lot of work, and I can't tell you how many hours everyone puts into going through every single line and all the things, just like everyone that has run on all these different, has been elected in all these different ways. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it.
Yeah. But it's also, one of the things is that the representatives mentioned is in terms of the whole partisanship. I don't think there's any of that. We don't have that, I don't think. Katrina
No.
can speak for herself, but it's more of a, we have differences of opinion.
Yep.
But ultimately, we have to do something for the benefit of the town. And it would be nice if all representatives that are elected had that same kind of feeling. And I don't feel that these days. I feel that we're so polarized, it's just ridiculous. And I appreciate what Rebecca said in terms of, things are getting done. But I think the important issues are very polarizing for us right now as a country. And I don't think that's any benefit to anybody. So, but of course, I'll step down from my political soapbox and stop preaching to the choir here. So,
Yeah, and it's nice that there's three of you. You get
Yes.
to know who you run with and who you work with on a daily basis.
Yeah, you really do. And it's amazing. You find, I came to it thinking they would be so different and stuff. And you really find each person's heart, because these things really, you're looking at the person you're affecting all the time. And you really, it's amazing how much you get to know people and admire them and appreciate them in ways you didn't realize.
Yep.
So thanks.
More fuzzies. I like it. All right. And if anyone has any time left, Jeff and I can do our update, which I will just start off with saying it might not be a pleasant way to end this conversation.
What about Doug Marino?
Doug is an attendee today.
Oh, okay.
He will be chatting later in the year, but he asked if he can participate, just join us to listen. But he is with Maggie Hassan's team, so if you do want to reach out to him, he did put his contact info in the chat, and Doug is easy to get a hold of, so he'll be around later. I was actually pitching, I didn't tell you yet, Doug, but I was chatting with Jay earlier and thought maybe March or April we could have both the party and the candidate staff on and maybe have a conversation and let as we get into the election already, we can start talking about how to help and some strategic plans. So so
Can I
tuned for my email.
I say one thing really, really fast? They called from one of the companies that does questions or whatever today and asked me a bunch of questions. And apparently their entire tactic is going to be, you don't want China to take away your Amazon or your Facebook. And so I don't know if you know that, Doug, if that's something you talked about, but that's what it was all about, big tech and how Democrats want to control everything and you're going to lose all your favorite apps. So 2 cents.
Thank you. We'll keep an eye on that for sure.
Do you remember who did the poll? Hey, this survey is sponsored by or?
It was one of those survey companies, but I can't remember the name. It started with an A, I think. But it was so unbelievably swayed, and they were definitely really feeling out. How much do you like Maggie Hassan, and how much do you all these things? But really, it was very much about big tech and China. Just a lot of questions about China. So it was just interesting. It's just not on anybody's radar. Like there's so many problems, and this is just an interesting.
Sounds like it's probably a push pull.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. So Jeff, I'll just start and by showing our house calendar. This is what we did 2 weeks ago. We did meet in Manchester at the DoubleTree. Probably has this there too. This is how thick it was that we had to go through. I will just say, so for those who haven't seen a calendar, and since I'm holding it, what I'll do is show you, very briefly, this is actually science and tech. So this is what a calendar looks like. You see my handwriting because I take notes. So they'll have the bill, what the bill's title is, how it came out of committee, and then what used to be called the blurb. Now it's a committee report. And then, so you kind of know, so you can see, we tabled a boatload of stuff, and we can get to that in a second, but it was the threat of coming in a third day that made everybody want to table everything. It was, I can't even count how many in a row we tabled, but the Senate had it easier because they don't have all of the bills that the House gets. We, last year, put a lot of things not only on the table, but an interim study. So a lot of these bills were what came from last year. A committee would meet over the fall. They would research, they would give their recommendations, and that is what we voted on. So a lot of this stuff was from last year, and now we're back in hearings to hear for more stuff for this year. So Jeff, I just wanted to add that we had 351 people, at least at the very beginning when they did roll call. The Wednesday we started, because I wrote it down, because you have to do 351. They have to do when it comes, we had a lot of veto bills at the beginning because we didn't meet last year, COVID. Our first 4 bills were for veto, and they have to be 2/3, 2/3 of a vote to override a veto. So we needed to know how many people were in the room. So we actually had to do roll call. And this time it was a lot better because our clerk didn't have to go through each one of us like they normally do. Because that takes 45 minutes just to get through everybody who's in the House. They do it by county. So of course, I'm the last seat in Stratford County. So it means I can doze off for a little bit. And then when I hear Jeff's name, I will start paying attention. So with that, and in here is also all the amendments, and I happen to just flip to the one for redistricting. So there is a lot to talk about. And Jeff, I will let you start first, and then maybe I'll add a little bit towards the end.
Interesting news. First of all, you need to know that over a year ago, Katrin came to me, and we talked about a bathroom access bill. And the good news is that came before our committee, I guess it was last week, and I believe the prospects look very good, that it will be positively reported out of committee, and that we can get that passed on the House floor. And we really owe Katrin a vote of thanks for pushing that. That's really good.
Do you want a cute 14-year-old to speak for it?
We had testimony, and
great.
It was illuminating to many members of Health and Human Services. It was very well done. We're in good shape. Thank you for that. The amusing news from the House is that as of last week, there are 15 confirmed cases of COVID coming out of our House meetings. Those are confirmed. The rumor is that in fact, there were probably about 55. And if you read the highlights from Greg Rayno, he's chasing that down. Nancy West is chasing that down. The press is doing a very good job of chasing all that down. And that's kind of fun to watch. We, as Amanda has already told you, we tabled a bunch of stuff. We will probably be meeting again the week of February 15th. Venue is as yet unannounced. We are losing serious votes that I wish we weren't losing. And it's a very hard place to be. The only thing that keeps us going is we take a look at the work that our select board is doing and say, you know what, as tough as it is for us, those guys are working harder than we do and having a bigger impact. So just know that we're very grateful. Are there any questions that oh, by the way, we heard a bill today to make ivermectin available as an off-label prescription. So for those of you who want to take your ivermectin, thinking that that will cure you of your COVID, that's in the pipeline. That's going to be fun to watch. Have you got any questions?
Wait, Jeff, you're not going to tell about the insurance bond for vaccines?
No. Why don't you?
That was a party line that was silly. So now it's not, I don't think it's going to pass the Senate, but we passed, now I'm just trying to find it in the calendar. When we met in person, there was a vote for any vaccination company like a Moderna or Johnson & Johnson to have a $1 million bond. Was it? Wasn't a billion, it was $1 million. To get an insurance bond in order to provide vaccines in the state.
Oh,
No, I can't.
welcome to our world.
That went down party lines, just as an FYI. So you can tell by the time we get done with session, and I'll just speak for myself.
It's exhausting.
Here we go. So maybe Jeff will say it. It is very, it's a very difficult day. So it is a day where you come home and you just pop into bed with ice cream. Those are the kind of days that session is. So. And I don't want to be so gloom and doom, but they're tough days, especially when something is 21-0, right? Comes out of committee with everybody voting in favor and it gets overturned on the floor and you still can't figure out why. Those are just hard days. So, yeah, a lot of divisions, a lot of roll calls. And just a lot of like Wilco, some bills when we debate. I'm making it sound glamorous and I apologize. We'll go through the debate. Someone will call division for our vote, right? So that's when we have to use our little clicker machines to actually submit the vote. It doesn't go to the website, so you can't see how we vote, but it helps because if we don't do a division or a roll call vote, it's a verbal vote. And with masks, hopefully you're wearing a mask, you're not as loud and you have to yell at the top of your lungs. It's a silly system and sometimes the speaker may not hear a group of people or a group of people may not be loud enough. So division is always what I like to have done, but what will happen is we'll get in that division mode. So the ticker starts, right? And we have 30 seconds to vote. And then someone might yell like roll call. And then we have to go through the whole process again. And then someone, if it doesn't win, you can then end up tabling it. So we can have like 4 or 5 motions on one particular bill. So by the time we're done one bill, it's 45 minutes have already gone by. So that was the beginning of Wednesday. It was a lot of that. Which is why I think with the weather that was actually forecasted that Friday that we were supposed to meet, it was, so Wednesday was that really icy day where everyone was sliding and we were in session early. We had to be there by 9. So we missed, I would say the majority of us missed the bad weather. The Senate started at 10 and they had some major issues going to Concord. And then on Friday was snow. The coast was going to get it worse than inland, but everybody obviously wanted to get out and not have to deal with the snow. So unfortunately, that meant we tabled a lot of things. What they also will do is table things to bring back later when they know more of a particular party is there. And it is a tactic that has been utilized a lot. It actually happened on, it also happens with special, oh, what's the term I'm thinking? We did it with redistricting. We moved it early because a particular party thought they had more people at that particular time. So they wanted to do that vote right then and there. Special, why can't I think of the word? Jeff, you're muted. Special what? It's not required.
Unanimous consent?
No.
No, that was terrible. Don't
Oh,
talk about.
I didn't
the-
say for that. We're not going to talk about that.
No, don't talk about that.
No.
Doug-
So
Doug says special order.
thank you. Special order. Thank you, Doug. Oh gosh. So
I watched the live feed too much.
I have it written down. I just yeah. Thank you. So for example, with the state rep district, which is House Bill 50, we took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 votes just on that one bill. And the kicker, and I'm just gonna say that because this was really frustrating because this was on Wednesday, the speaker actually voted. We were tied.
Yeah.
It was oh no, it was 79 to 78 in favor of tabling, which would have been amazing to table it. And then the speaker voted, which he never does. And so it ended up being a tie of 70, 179, 179, which means it fails. And we do it all over again. So then it ended up, we ended up obviously losing it. And then they reconsidered, and all of this was a roll call, which means you have to go through a bunch of speeches before then you vote again. So all of this you can see online, like how we all voted, but this is how we voted 7 times just on this one bill. So you can see why I say to Rebecca and Scott and Katrin, like sometimes it's easier to be in a smaller group of people. And then House Bill 52, which is for the congressional districts, we voted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times on that one. Oh, 7 because we wanted to print the remarks. So again, 7 times with that. The county commissioners, there wasn't much to change with that one. So that one went through. There wasn't a lot of argument about that one. The final was a division. It was an auto pass with amendment. It was 184 to 159. So, I mean, I can talk about my committee. I'm on Ways and Means. We just do a lot of lottery. So I feel like that's what we hear in my committee a lot is lottery. So Keno passed on a voice vote, which is unusual to just get all voice votes. So we passed that. We passed the expansion of definition to charitable organizations to include fraternal organizations. So those are anything that's beyond a C3. I was actually surprised because a C4, which is a political campaign, got lumped into this. So it's anything a C6, a C8. So Rotary, Chamber of Commerce. Now those are all in the expanded definition. This was a division vote. It ended up passing, but to exempt the state and political subdivisions from payment with the compliance of the renewable energy standard. So towns can opt out, which personally I think is unfortunate for our, sustainability goals as a state. So. Like I said, that was 177 to 158. So I know oh, and he dropped off. Jeff's no longer with us. He didn't want to answer any questions. Does anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns? Eric?
My question is just the status of the House redistricting right now.
So it passed the House. It now needs to go to the Senate. And in the end, the governor has hinted that he wouldn't pass at least the congressional one, because it does look so funny as a map. I mean, I don't know how many people went back and listened to our meeting. Was it November?
Last time,
Yeah, it seems like forever ago, but how, there's one district in the center and then another district all the way around. That doesn't seem like the most appropriate way of spreading out the map. So that probably won't fly. And even as we talked about earlier, if the governor does sign it, there will be some lawsuits and the judicial system will get involved. So everything does need to be figured out, though, as we are in an election year. This is the end of our, it's our second year of our term. So people do need to start campaigning. So that does need to get ironed out sooner than later.
So when he hinted that he didn't like the map, is that just for the the U.S. House map or the state House map as well?
I haven't heard anything about the state House map. There's a lot of maps that look as funky as Lee and who will lose their rep. So there's a lot of unhappy current reps who will lose their job. I will even say with the reps who are in Dover Ward 1, who will get lumped in with us, they are not happy about this.
So I have a follow-up question on that, because I've heard you mention Dover Ward 1 twice now, but I went back and looked at my notes and went on the House site, and those say Dover Ward 4.
That would make more sense. 4 is closer to us. I wasn't sure why I kept being told 1. So 4 is right over, it's Silver Street. So that would make more sense. The traffic circle, the new Dunkin' Donuts, this Woodbury School, Woodman School, that is Ward 4. So that would make more sense. I think it abuts Barrington, the Route 9 section, that's Ward 4. So thanks for correcting.
Yeah, to share all those people when you could have one person represent Lee makes absolutely no sense.
So they added reps up north.
Mm-hmm.
Again, and I don't want to be partisan, but it is a traditional Republican area. So what they have done is for those areas that are traditionally Democratic. I can even use Barrington as an example. Obviously, I represent Lee and Barrington. Obviously, since not living in Barrington, I can't run just for a Barrington seat. But what they did with the Barrington seat, so they have 2 reps and a float. What will happen with them is a very funky map. So Barrington, Stratford, Middleton. And of course, to get to Middleton from Barrington, it's like a 45-minute drive. So it's unfortunate that, to go around Rochester, that I said with my seat, if I was a Republican right now, I would have done Barrington and Stratford. If you wanted a guaranteed Republican seat, that would be what I would do. But to add Middleton for all 3 seats, because there'll still be a floterral somewhere in that. So all 3 seats will be those 3 towns. I don't know. I haven't heard anything from the governor in regards to the House maps. So I can just tell you that there's a lot of unhappy reps. So Sue?
Yeah, I remember back when Lee was with Durham and Madbury.
Yep.
It was okay. I mean, I'd rather that than Dover. what do we have in common with Dover, Silver Street, Dover? I mean, really, that's ridiculous.
I say the same
I
thing about
mean, at
Barrington.
least with Lee and Durham, I mean, probably half the people in Lee work in Durham. And it's a bedroom community for the university. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense at all. And also, did everybody catch that union leader editorial about the gerrymandering? Oh, that's really cool. I'll send it around. Basically, they're disgusted, which is kind of amazing for that newspaper. But their suggestion was that if Republicans wanted to win, maybe they should run good, moderate candidates that have sensible policies. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I don't usually agree with the union leader on most things, their editorials anyway, but I have to say that one hit the nail on the head. It was exactly right. They were mainly talking about the congressional gerrymander from what I could tell, but I mean, it applies to all of them really. And, you know, it's just cheating. And it's so blatant and brazen. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, to just change the subject a little, is how much of an impact do you think it has when you have to meet in person and there are a number of Democrats that really can't risk their health to do that? And it's not just a question of fairness here. I think it seems to me, I don't understand how they're able to legally get away with it. These are people who are voted into office and they have serious and good reasons for not being able to attend in person. There are perfectly good remote ways to attend a meeting and to vote remotely, and they're not allowing it. And I don't know, is somebody going to sue them over it? Did anyone try that yet?
We're in the process of it. It got up to the state Supreme Court, and we're just waiting for a ruling. And it actually affects me. I'm actually in that lawsuit as part of the ADA. I'm a little overweight and I have asthma, so I actually fall within that category. I have to be super careful. And in fact, like, I'm going on a work trip next week. I've been quarantined for 2 weeks just so I know I'm not going to be sick in time for work. So I understand and I appreciate that. So that is the answer. I mean, our minority leader has cancer. So, and I believe it's stage 4 for Rennie. It's not a surprise. He's been really open about it. Kathy Rogers, was at session and she was breast cancer. She is still going under chemo and radiation, but she's there. She was in a wheelchair. She had no hair. She was dedicated, sitting in the front row. She gave an amazing speech. What I will say about my colleagues is that they are amazing. They are dedicated. They are fearless in this case, much more so than I am. But I do go to session. We actually had to suspend the rules because we're no longer under a state of emergency. We are technically not supposed to meet away from Concord. We're supposed to be in the State House. So we had to suspend our rules. I mean, the Senate needed to meet in Reps Hall. If any of you have been in the Reps Hall, you know you're touching elbows with other people when all 400 of us are in there. So we need to be in a bigger space. I actually don't think the DoubleTree was large enough. When we're in the sports complex, we can have 10 feet between us. I don't know how the air flows in the system. In the sports complex, they've actually done a test to see where the air goes. And the way it comes into the building is the Democratic side and it flows out the Republican side. Just, you know, if you're going to take the chance of not wearing a mask, then that's just what it is, right? So I double masked when I'm there. I'm in an immune compromised area of the Democratic Party. At least I'm supposed to be. They actually have us in like my seat. They're not assigned seats when we go, but they'll have reserved for those who need to be away from everybody. So we're doing the best we can in the current situation. I will say, and I'll be very honest, because obviously we're being recorded, I do not go to committee. And I feel horrible about it. I loved last year when we were on Zoom and everything. I was the best state rep. I was at everything. It was wonderful. I miss that. That is easier to do. We do roll call for votes. There's only 20 something in a committee, depending on what committee you're on. Ways and Means, I believe it's 23. So that's easier to do. To go through all 400 names, they will not do that. And they have been saying over and over again, there is no secure way to vote remotely. Now, I know that's wrong, but that is what they say. And so we have sued, and now we're just waiting. Unfortunately, this process started over a year ago. And because of just the justice system, it's just been a little delayed. And we keep pushing and keep trying to get updates. So it is in the works. But yeah, it's a weird time to be in the State House.
Well, it just seems to me that, you know, it's suspiciously convenient for Republicans to insist on in-person when they know that a whole bunch of Democrats will not be able to attend, and there isn't that much of a difference in numbers between.
There's only 14 people difference between the party. What I would
that's
say,
what I mean. So
yeah.
it really makes a difference if
It makes a
if
huge
there
difference.
are
We all need to show up.
absences. And so that is just, it's not just unreasonable, it just seems suspicious.
At the same time, Republicans are putting their own lives at risk too. I mean, they have an older party than the Democratic Party. And I know quite a few of them who have health issues as well. And they actually shamed somebody last week or 2 weeks ago for wearing a mask. We found out why, and it's not a good reason, and I'm not going to say it recorded, but it's she got shamed for wearing a mask. And you know,
Well, they may not believe that they're vulnerable either. They've got all this disinformation that they seem to believe.
I'm not going to speculate, but yep. So that's just
Yeah.
where we're at, and that's the status of the House.
I still think that's confusing, given that their Speaker of the House, a Republican, died from it.
Oh, it's all gone through them. They've all gotten COVID at one point. And I am going to generalize because at least 50% of the Republican Party has gotten COVID. They went to an event after was it after he died? I think it was at Gunstock. I think it was their caucus, a Republican caucus. And at that one event, 22 people got COVID from that. One of them was Kim Rice, who is the current chair of children family law, and she was best friends with the speaker, and she did sessions from bed. She had pillows propped around her, she had her tea, and she was sick as a dog. She was muted half the time, she was coughing, like you could see it, and she still just fights, and she doesn't wear a mask when she's in session. And when we were told that Kinch died, I literally fell out of my seat. I was shocked, and I just get sad and think, oh my gosh, he didn't die in vain. Like I wish there was a lesson out of somebody's death. Like he was such a good guy, and it makes me really frustrated. I really liked him.
I think we have to realize that this mentality about this, you know, go ahead and suffer and don't worry about it, because as long as we're on the right party side, we have to realize that we're going to be heading with that same attitude into climate and the same, whatever, what happens, happens. And it's so hard for us to get into that head. And I think that's going to be really the key, is learning how to talk to each other and figure out a new way forward, because no one's winning this way. Like
No,
zero
and it's
people.
I was
unfortunate
thinking
how-
about that meeting we had regarding climate change as I was shoveling the icy slush off of my driveway the other day.
Right?
Well,
That
that's
was
why
rough.
it rained, and it was 50 degrees out, and 47. That shouldn't happen
Yeah.
in January.
Yeah.
All right, we've gone way over. Does anyone have any other questions, comments, concerns? I was like,
I
I
just
want
had
dessert.
one quick one. Sorry, just kind of for educational purposes. We were talking about how, like, you know, there's the possibility of Lee not getting a rep in the future if this map holds, and specifically the reason, of course, is that, and I've got these pages all pulled up here, is that Dover Ward 4 currently has 2 reps, and they both live in Dover Ward 4.
Yep.
Madbury currently shares all their reps with Durham, but only one of them, Janet Wall, lives in Madbury. And
Yeah.
so 2 from Dover Ward 4, 1 from Madbury. That's 3 already. You throw in ours, and it's over the limit.
Oh, it is. And Janet,
so-
she's a riot. She's even, I mean, Sue, I mean, she's an institution. She's been around forever. And she
Yeah.
is so nervous about losing her seat. She's looking at moving into Durham. She wants to keep her seat so badly that Tim Horgan came up to me the other day and he asked if I was running. And then he said, Janet's thinking of moving. And I was like, this is crazy. Just to move.
See, that's
to
funny,
keep
is
your
Janet
seat.
doesn't necessarily have to move. She can just run for the larger district, because
Yeah,
she's already in it.
she should probably move.
She can do that too.
Yeah.
Eric, I wish I could do the thing you did last year where it said Eric Johnson for select board. Can we imagine that that's here? So are you filing tomorrow?
Am I what?
Eric?
Filing
filing?
tomorrow? You file tomorrow to run. Yep.
I'm not filing for anything. I can't even file a tax return until the 24th.
Jeez.
Oh, we are in trouble.
Katrina, have you
There
let
are
them know
there are
that-
no plans in this house to run for anything in the next week.
Katrina-
We have had multiple chats about it, but nobody's pulled the trigger on anything.
All right. Well, if anyone needs help with the trigger, I can hold the gun, carry it, bring it to you, whatever you need. Just let me know. What were you going to say, Mr. Bugbee?
Have you told them that the deliberative session for the town of Lee is February 5th at 9 a.m. at the school?
No, I would
anything you
love
can
to
do.
tell you that.
Anything you
that.
can do to get that out, that would be great.
Yeah, and we need you guys. We really do, because the same 60 people come every time, and we really need to have everyone's voices there. It really helps. And we do have it planned that if anyone comes and they will not wear a mask, there is a separate room planned for them, and masks are required thanks to Mr. Brown and Mr. Bugbee agreeing to have a public meeting mask mandate.
But will there be food?
No.
We haven't had food for years. so-
No, that's what I missed. Now you missed all the baked
We-
stuff for the good and the
We've
bad.
cut
there.
every single extra possible penny of every expenditure we could find. So there's no fireworks. There's no, I mean, there could be, but we'll see.
I thought it was usually a
there's no
group
food.
usually came in and with baked goods and they made money like.
It was the library, the Friends of Lee
Oh.
Library.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was really good.
It was
I
a
remember.
fundraiser. We're not doing it. What's up with that?
Oh, Brian,
Ask the
if you
friends.
promise to come, I'll bring you one munchkin. How about that?
Yeah, they need to bribe me better
What's-
than that.
What's the date for the deliberative session?
February 5th.
February 5th. This is Saturday, 9 a.m. Masquerade School.
What is the town going to deliberate about?
The budget. We've signed that, well, Katrina and I and Mr. Brown have to sign the warrant, but the warrant is up. So if anybody wants to amend anything that we've put on the warrant, you can't change the purpose of anything, but you can change dollar amounts and things like that. So.
How many articles we have this year? Like 16?
No.
14?
It's 13. Oh yeah, 14, yes.
14. I think it's 14. Yeah, 14.
Well,
Oh, the other-
that's down from like a 20 something average, isn't it?
Yep. Well, one of them that I didn't even mention is we're proposing to change how the CIP is done. Traditionally, the planning board has done it, and we're proposing to have a regular group do it, not the planning board.
Yes, with assorted people from different opinions and backgrounds, which would be really lovely. So
Yeah.
please be aware of that. I just
Sounds
realized I
interesting.
almost electioneered, sorry.
That was pretty close, Katrin.
I know,
have
I
to
stopped
turn you
myself
in.
halfway through.
Have to
Ay,
turn you
ay, ay.
in. But talk to people about running for the select board. It's a wonderful job. You get to work with Katrin and I. Excellent. Plus, we pay more than the school board.
Yeah,
I
but the
feel
school
so
board's
bad.
where the cool kids are.
How much,
We're
how much
cool.
does the select board pay?
$2,500 a year.
Yep, big chunk of change, man, woohoo.
Yeah, we get paid more, like 250 times more, or what is it? 25
Yeah.
times more than the state reps. So
Yeah.
much better job. We don't get
And it works out-
mileage, but
It
I get
works out to
told
about
too.
$1 an hour, I think, when you do the work and how much in a regular week.
it
Yeah, but
depends
they
on
get
how much you put into it.
They get a
Yeah.
license plate too, right?
No,
State reps.
No?
we have to
State
pay
reps
for
are
our
allowed to
plate,
say.
pay for our name tags. We have to pay for our business
Oh.
cards. We pay for
Yeah, Amanda,
everything.
why do you do what you do, my friend?
Yes.
I get free tolls and I get mileage and I get the $100.
Oh,
And you get to
That's-
speed on your way to the State House.
Yes, they
Yes.
can't technically by law pull me over.
they
Or if they
can.
do, they can't give you a ticket until after session.
Yeah, they'll catch you
Wow.
after.
After, what? They
Yeah,
can
they
still
can
give
get
you
me
the ticket.
after
Oh,
it.
I thought you could get out of it completely.
No, you can get, they will meet you at your house later and then we'll present you with your ticket.
That's been a law for like,
good
what,
is
100
that?
years?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Uh,
It's all about tradition in the state house. Yes, that is correct.
I'm not
That's
nearly
why
as
we
gung
need
ho
your
about that
dollars.
job anymore.
Select board, go for it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. You all have a good night.
And thank you for
Take care.
inviting me. I appreciate it.
Nice to have
Yeah.
you here,
Pleasure.
Scott.
Welcome.
Everybody.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you.
Thanks for
Good
showing up.
night.
Very interesting
Yep.
tonight.
It was a
Alright.
good meeting tonight.
It really was.
All right.
Yeah.
Amanda does a great job getting a good group. Thank you, Amanda, for all your hard
Yeah.
work.
Easy with you all.
Right.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Night.
Right.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.